Hi there, and welcome to a new episode of the Everything Accordion podcast. Before we dive into this episode, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't done so yet, to follow the podcast wherever you're listening to it, whether it's on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Rate it and perhaps even review it. This helps really a lot. If you'd like to support the podcast in a different way, at the end of the description of the episodes, you will find a link for sending in voice messages, for reaching out, or also to support this podcast with a monthly donation. This helps a lot in creating new episodes, inviting new guests, and improving the quality of the podcast. Thank you everyone for listening to it, for following it, for liking it on social media. And feel free to reach out with suggestions and ideas and perhaps even guest ideas or topics, also for Career Friday episodes, which I will be releasing a bit more frequently now that I have a bit more time to dedicate to the podcast. A small update. Now the chat over virtual coffee on my website is completely free. So if you'd like to have a chat about your goals, about your projects, about your doubts, about your problems, your ideas, maybe you would like an input on something, just head on to my website. There's a link in the description of this episode and book a session with me and I'll be happy to talk to you. So yeah, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to another episode of the Everything Accordion podcast. Today I'm excited to be talking to a musician, a guest from France. She's a guest who I didn't know beforehand. Of course, I followed her on social media. I saw everything that she was doing, all the different projects and also recordings that she was involved in. And I'm really, really curious to know more about our guest today. So, a very warm welcome to Ambre Vuillermoz. I apologize for mispronouncing your name. I did my best, but yeah, here it is. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So to kick off this conversation, I would like to ask you how was your first encounter with the accordion? Because being from France, I believe it's quite predominant and well known as an instrument. But then again, everyone has his and her own story about it. So, what was the first time you remember seeing or hearing or approaching the instrument?
Actually, I was maybe 5 or 6. I think I was 5. My brother's best friend was playing the accordion, but it was completely an accident because I come from a small town from south of France, and there weren't that much accordion everywhere. But then my brother decided to play the accordion to be with his best friend, just like that. And it wasn't his thing. He wasn't a musician at all. He didn't like that. So at some point, he decided to stop the lesson. But we were in the middle of the academic year, and my parents they paid for the year, so they asked the professor if she wanted to change the child. So if I can go to the lesson instead of my brother because I liked it and I wanted to try. So it started like that.
Wow, it's quite curious and funny because normally what would happen is, not to lose the child, the pupil, the school might propose a different instrument, not a different child in the class,
Yeah.
So
So we
that's quite
change.
quite ingenious on the part of your parents, but we're very lucky to have that accident quote
Yeah,
unquote happen. So
I think I was lucky as well.
very nice, great. And do you remember what was the time that you said, okay, I want to do this as my profession, as a professional career? Or was it something it
I,
just came as a transition?
I think it was late because, in the first place, I don't come from a musician family, and there were no musician in my surroundings. So it wasn't a job for me. It wasn't a possible job. It wasn't something that you can do professionally, or it was like too difficult to reach. So I did music and I did my studies, and at some point I was like, yeah, I really like it. I would like to make my living with that, but I don't know how. And I think I don't actually know, but it was a path. So I was just continuing in this direction, and somehow I became a professional accordion player, but it wasn't meant to be like that, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe this is one of those stories that, you start something when you're like, you know what, I actually really like it. How can I make something out of it?
Yeah, really. And I was like, I will try this thing. Maybe I can go to do this bachelor somewhere, or maybe I can try to have this master, or maybe this master class. And I just continue like that until the end of
Nice.
my studies, and it worked. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that maybe, you just kind of want stuff to, you don't really see the path, but it just opens up on the go. So yeah, that's really
yeah.
nice. And what were some of the next, let's say, steps that you took in order to, I read on your website that you studied also in Paris, if I'm not mistaken, then in Würzburg. So, those choices of places where a lot is happening for the accordion, actually.
Yes. I must say that the first really good thing I had, it was that I studied my bachelor. I began in Dijon, and at those time in Burgundy, I had the opportunity to work with Fanny Vicens because I had the choice of my teacher. I wanted to study with Fanny. I knew her already, and she was a friend. But I really like her music. I really respect her work, and I'm really grateful because she gave me the best advices. She told me, you have to do Erasmus, to go somewhere else, to try to go here and here. And she told me, you should try Würzburg because there is a good class there. Actually, that was true. So I've been there, and I studied. After that, I studied my master, and then the master class as well.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I did this contemporary music diploma in Paris because the conservatory in Paris is really good, and it's also really good thing to have on your CV.
Yes.
Everywhere where you go, you say, I've been to Paris, and the doors are opening to you. So I think that was a good decision as well, and I think Fanny was really good for advising me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe it's, those people that we see as mentors, maybe not necessarily, uh, yeah, even just a word of advice given at the right moment can actually change a
And
lot.
also because she's not so old in compared to me. I always had older teachers, and she was not that old. I think she's maybe 6 years older than me. And so she did her study not so long before me, so she knew how it was working at the time, and also which foundation can help, and which, so she had really great advices for the music as well, but for the career somehow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, that's funny that you say this thing about age difference, because we are kind of, I believe maybe like where we accordionists are in this position, but our teachers very often are or were at this point more or less the same age as us. It's the same generation. It's not like you have, I don't know, Maria Joao Pires or Alfred Brendel on the piano and you go and study with them and they're these colossuses, but they're like 40, 50 years older than you. So,
Yeah.
that's of course a big difference. And was it something that you saw as, because you said that you respected her a lot as a musician and you actually wanted to study and learn from her? Was it something that, I'm just curious for myself, because I also know musicians who might think, well, I'm not sure what I could learn from someone who maybe has the same age as me, or maybe 1 or 2 years difference, and we're kind of on the same career path, more or less, Um, was it something that was an obstacle for you, or it was just like, I don't care if she's like 6 5 6 years older than me?
I didn't care because I actually chose it. At this time in Dijon, they asked me which teacher do you want, and I wanted to study with her. And I didn't care because I was young. I was in bachelor, and she already finished her studies. So we were in different moments of our career, and I was sure she had a lot to learn to me anyway. So it was good.
Mm-hmm. Nice, very nice. Because of course, then Würzburg, for example, is one of those places that's been there for like more than 20 years, and the class is always full. I remember I also applied for Erasmus in Würzburg, and I got rejected simply because it was completely
Yeah.
full. Like it was not possible to actually get inside. There was a waiting list of people who needed to go inside. So
Yeah, and I was also surprised that I had a place, but so then I
yeah.
did my last year bachelor there, and then I continued with the master. And it was also really great to study here, to
Mm-hmm.
go out of France, discover other things, and also it was so stimulating to be with those amazing accordionists that were studying at the same time, and so it was a really good period.
Mm-hmm. It's also very interesting what you're saying about having a certain place on your CV because, well, my theory, well, my idea or advice, if somebody were to ask me what should I do, where should I go, in the beginning, I think like when someone is still forming as a musician and is still a student, one could also choose a place that's relatively small. You know, the important thing is to choose the right teacher and professor for yourself in order to develop. And then afterwards, I believe the place is more important than the teacher because you could always go and do a master class or do a course or do, gather like more and absorb more and add upon your basis, the foundation that you build. Um, what's your view about it? Because of course there's these centers. If you're right that you're in Paris, of course, you did that academy or you did that place, and everyone's like, oh, okay, you know, it's like it already
But
stands out.
so I agree that it's important for the CV sometime, but in the first place, I did my studies just following the teacher I wanted to have. I studied in Perpignan, and then I wanted to study with Fanny, and then with Husong. So it was always I want to meet these people and to work with them, and I think it was also good because when you're not in such a big city than Paris or a capital, you have more time to practice and not that much to entertain yourself. So I practiced a lot, really a lot, in all these small cities. And then finally, when I did the master class, so I was already a professional musician. I thought, okay, maybe now to go back to France and to have this musical network as well. That will be important to be there because there is a lot of opportunities, which is actually true. And in France, a lot is happening in Paris. That's also a pity because there is less things in the other cities. But yeah, that's true that if you want to work, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you on the path of becoming a professional musician. Of course, your mentors and the teachers that you choose are important. When I finished my master's degree, I was thinking where to go and study, but for some reason I didn't want to seem a nonconformist or someone who is trying to do the new thing or the different thing, but somehow for me to do kind of the same path, do a master class or do a third master's degree or whatever, seemed a little bit daunting, seemed a little bit not my way. So I was looking into different other opportunities, and at the time I was very lucky to have met my professor afterwards, Krasimir Shterев. And it was very funny because we were friends on Facebook, and I went to Graz to the Simples Academy, and I simply went to say hi because we didn't know each other. So, and it was running late for I think it was a plane from Vienna, but he needed to go to Madrid or something. We talked literally just 2 or 3 minutes, and I told him that I wanted to go to and study in Germany, but didn't really know where. Um, After 2 months, he wrote to me on Facebook saying, "Hey, I got the job in Munich. If you're interested, apply for that." And that was like a completely new path, completely new class, and everything. So I was just like felt very lucky to do that. But I agree with you 100% that if someone goes to a place like Paris or London, one needs to be very disciplined in order to not, run after all of the beautiful lights around the city and get overwhelmed by everything the city has to offer. So,
Yes,
yeah.
and also you lose a lot of time with public transport and everything. Actually, it's true. It's a lot. It's like you can lose 2 hours a day for that, and when you need to
Yeah,
practice, you need
uh,
2 hours.
you're right. It seems kind of silly to think about it, but I mean, those 2 hours of public transportation could be well spent at home practicing,
Yeah.
or doing some more creative stuff.
Yes.
And
I
yeah,
really agree with what you are saying. So I did this curriculum with a bachelor, master class, and such. But now I think that we are a lot of accordionists that have done a lot of studies. I think we all have this. We don't, maybe not, maybe not all, but we have this desire to feel legitimate. So we really want
mm,
to have a lot of diplomas and to say, okay, we did this high school, this university. We are serious people. We play serious music. And I think I also had that as a person, as an individual, because I told you I had no musician in my family. So it was really important to show my parents, my family, everyone that I'm doing something serious. I'm not just playing accordion in the street.
hmm
So it was important to me, I think, to legitimate in a way with diplomas. And I don't think at all that it's the only way to be a musician. And I even think that it's sometimes not such a good way to become a musician, but it's more to
mm,
be a performer, quality
hmm
chief performer. But I don't think it's the only way. But yeah, I did this way, and it's in our society. It's worth it to have diplomas, I think. But
hmm Do you think it's something of our generation? Do you think it's a generational thing of us millennials? I'm seeing, like, for example, uh, now many Gen Zers, those born after 2004, I think, or in their 20s now. Many of them are actually not pursuing academic careers and choose to learn on the go. So maybe, be employed at a company, or because it is true that what you're saying, that our generation is actually quite, I would say, in the academic sense, maybe overqualified, because we have like at least
two
two
masters,
ma- two masters, one PhD, or going into PhDs, and I actually
yeah,
know
yeah, it's
people. Yeah, it's crazy, and I know people who said to me literally, "Oh, I have a plan to study until I'm 50." Going from one academy to the next one. I feel, but maybe I'm wrong. And listeners, please, if you hear this and if you disagree, just send me a message, call me, whatever. Don't be angry, don't insult me. But uh, I would think that this has to do something with the comfort zone, the comfort of knowing, oh, I know what I'm getting into. It's another master's degree. I'm practicing. I'm in a safe bubble. You know, I'm feeling safe because I know what waits for me until I'm like 40, 50. And for many of us, it's also a good playground to experiment stuff because there's no huge responsibility if something goes wrong, right? So, well,
yes.
my project failed. Oh well, fine. I'm gonna find someone else. It's not very disappointing. Like, what are your thoughts about this? Is it a generational thing? And yeah, is it like a comfort, insecurity thing?
I'm not sure. I didn't do a study about that, but I have the feeling that we are maybe the first generation to have the opportunity to do this kind of studies in accordion.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, when when I was a child, the class in Paris wasn't existing at all. So it wasn't possible to study accordion in an academic level yet. So now it's possible. So we take the possibility. It's also a general thing. So people are studying longer in general. And also the thing is that you don't have it's not like you are doing medicine studies and after your graduation you have a job. So
Mm.
usually when you study music you are already a professional musician during the studies, and when you stop the studies it's like, yes, now we are in the real life and you have to do that by yourself. And also some practical things, you don't have a room to practice anymore, you have to go home and stay alone and do that on your own. And I think it's the same for everyone who stops studies. It's like a sudden shock anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe
Yeah.
that's why we continue. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I get this thing to study all your life because I think we have so much to learn. I do study at the moment also, but
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, from that point of view, we never stop because, it's what we are used to do. So it's if it's a new project, a new piece, a new program, whatever, it doesn't stop there. It's like our entire life we're studying and practicing. But I think referring to what you were saying about medicine or about other jobs, because what we are actually doing is we are growing our skills as musicians and competence. So we are exposed to learning new genres, new styles of playing, new ideas, but we're not necessarily ready for, as you're saying, for the real life. Nobody teaches us anything about how to pitch a concert. Well, hopefully nowadays it has changed. In my case, nobody taught me how to build my own website, how to present myself to concert organizers, how to be accountable for myself, because if you have lessons every week, you're like, okay, I need to practice regularly every week. I actually, funny thing, for a couple of years, I went into a sort of, well, not depression, that's a big word, but I actually thought that I got worse at playing after I finished my studies. And, you know, I was feeling guilty all the time because I wasn't practicing as much as I was practicing at the time. Today, also, I found an album of recorded pieces which I recorded during my bachelor studies, and I've listened to it today on Spotify. I tried to listen to it as a new kind of listener. I was like, no wonder I felt depressed. I was so 100% ready and full and prepared and everything at the time. So, yeah, I mean, and if a doctor is being prepared for the job, we're actually being prepared to confront
yeah,
what they will see in life. We are trained to, yeah, to translate and to be the best versions of ourselves through our instruments, but not necessarily how to do the job of a professional musician.
yeah. And I will say that there is this administration things with like selling concerts and everything, of course. But also, and it's more important to me, I think when we are studying in an academy, in high school, we don't learn how to be an artist or a musician. We just learn, as you said, we are trained as really good performers. And I think that's true. When you are finishing your studies, you are so prepared to play solo concert, and you can play really hard pieces and everything. But there is no time in my studies where I question what I want to play, why, what is my aesthetical choice. Do I want to play the same pieces for the competition that everyone plays? Is it my personality? And I think that's a pity that we don't have this time in the studies.
Mm,
Of course, we are grown up, so we have to ask ourselves this question. But um, there is such a big accent that is made on being a really good and virtuosic performer. That's the most important thing. And for me, that's sport. It's not music. It's like
hmm
being good for a competition. it's some part of the job, of course, and you have to be really good prepared and really good trained on your instrument, because it's your tool to express. So you have to be
Mm-hmm.
of your possibility on the instrument, but it's not the only thing that made you a musician.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a very important aspect there that you're saying. Um, um, about asking ourselves why, and I think it's not necessarily about the time. It's more about the mentality. Nobody teaches us, okay, stop and now think. Why are you doing this? Because most of us started, I think, because maybe our parents uh, substituted our siblings with us in the music school, like in your case, or like they told us, okay, just go and do that. So somehow it just happened. And I agree with you about the sport kind of metaphor of being a musician.
What is really nice with our job, it's not that it's impossible with other jobs, but when you're a musician, you can have a job that looks like you, like really. You can make your career being a musician like you want. You can choose the music you play if you are lucky enough, because of course you have to make a living. But if you are lucky enough, I think I am now, I can choose the music I play. I can choose the people with whom I will play. I can choose the also like the subtext I can put in my programs, and I can choose actually everything. So this career is going to show who I am, and not only if I'm a good performer.
Absolutely. And this goes perfectly into what I wanted to talk to you about also today, choosing the people with whom you collaborate, about your all of your different projects. You're doing some really interesting stuff. You have a piano and accordion duo. You have also a accordion and recorder duo, and you released also a CD recently.
Yes.
Um, yes, and you also have a group with which you improvise in a more folksy way, if I can put it that way. So yeah, I would really love you to talk a little bit about all of these different projects that you're doing.
Okay, so at the moment, I'm working actually with two duets. So you told them Avès duo, which is a piano accordion duo, and Vento, a recorded accordion duo. With the pianist of Avès duo, we also founded a festival in south of France. So we are both co-directing this festival, which is also an activity that takes me more and more time, but it's also really interesting. I'm playing also regularly with ensemble, especially contemporary music,
Mm-hmm.
of course. And there is a Cirto, but Cirto is a group that I have like for 10 or 15 years. We play sometimes. We used to play a lot, but now we are all playing a lot in different projects. So we meet every year. We play sometime, but it's not an actual project,
Mm.
really actual. And so with piano, we have this festival, and we also have founded this association in south of France. The name is Je Danse.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay. A very casual reference to one of the
yes,
more
and
important works. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yes, and it's really accordion friendly season, you know.
Yeah. Who knows why?
So with this association, every year we commission new pieces to composers. And now we are also working on pluridisciplinary project. So this year we are doing a project with a piano, accordion, and a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a lot of contemporary music, new pieces, also because we are exploring the possibilities of the duo, which is not so easy. Uh, you also have a duo with piano.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a very interesting topic. And if you want, we can go
Yes.
into this. Like, how do you find the common ground of a sound between piano, which is basically a percussion instrument, completely different sound emission, and our instrument, which is much softer. And even if you do a attack, the sound, it still sounds completely different than with the piano.
Yeah, and we started the duo because the piano player, she's my best friend. So it was just because we wanted to play together.
Mm.
And so we started to play things like a few years ago, and we noticed that there is some pieces for the duo. There is already some works existing, but we weren't convinced of the combination between the
Mm-hmm.
two instruments. And it's always a question because we look like we are really close instrument, but we are not at all. It's like we are false twin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing that we really like to explore with the composers. So each time we commission a piece, we take a lot of time with the composer to try things and also to say, look, you think that we are doing the same thing, it will sound the same, but it's not. So just listen to it and try.
Mm-hmm.
And we are trying to make them use their language in the best way to make the combination sound the best they can. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a challenge, and they like it usually
Mm-hmm.
to try it. And always they are like, "Oh yeah, it's true. It's not that easy to make it sound great." And it's really interesting to do that because they all have different solutions. And I
Yeah.
think we have now some pieces that are working, and we are also working on something with a composer for the moment. This piece for piano, accordion, and dance. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the composer, she was really interested by this false twin story. So
Mm-hmm.
she's searching the best way. I hope it will work.
Nice. Yeah. Also, because I think this is the best way of putting it, the false twin. Many times when I see some works or when I've worked with some composers, they kind of thought of the accordion as a second piano.
Yes,
But it's just,
big mistake.
yes, we have keys and we have buttons, and it's, yeah, you're right as for the piano, but it's such a completely different sound, and
Yes,
it's always like sometimes you would want that sound to come out exactly as written, but because the accordion needs that millisecond more, to come out the sound rather than the piano, it just changes completely everything.
yes.
No, yeah,
It's
I
always
completely
a lot.
agree.
It's always necessary to take a lot of time with composers, just for a solo accordion piece. But when there is the combination, it's still more complicated. So, but really, I really like this part of the job. I think it's my favorite because we are part of the creative process, and I really love that.
Yeah, but it also takes a lot of energy and research to actually,
Yes,
kind of get the right result. The recent piece that I saw you shared on your social media that it was published for accordion and piano. I listened to it and it sounds really good. Uh,
cool.
just the way the two instruments are combined into creating a together sound is just it's really good. So chapeau, you
Nice.
did a really great collaboration there.
I think the recording is also really good, so it's helping.
Yeah, but what's the
Because
recording without the musicians?
when you record, you can also mix the thing that it's going together better. The balance is maybe better than in real life, I must say. But the piece is really good anyway.
Yeah, shh, don't tell the secrets of the industry to to the people. Yeah, no, yeah, but that's I actually, yeah, I really enjoy, as you're saying, the challenge of bringing to life something new. Also, because many times I believe we discover more about ourselves and our instrument through these collaborations rather than practicing the, let's call
Really.
it, standard repertoire, or the established works already that have been played by hundreds of accordionists. So
Yes, and it's not like we are inviting something revolutionary or anything, but I have played accordion for I don't want to say how many years. And each time I work with a composer, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. I didn't know. And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, yes, I can try. Maybe let's try. You want this kind of song, so how can we find it, and sometimes we find it and sometimes we find something else, but it's
Yeah.
interesting anyway. So I feel like I'm in a laboratory with
Mm-hmm.
scientists trying things together, and
Yes.
it's really funny.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And for the listeners who always wanted to do it but never tried, just, go and try. And it's not like it's a full-time engagement with someone. It's just, contact your composers. Maybe you're a student, go to the composition class, work with some composers. I think I've learned much more about the accordion through working with the composers with whom I worked than, through my own personal rehearsals and practicing and so on. So also because we view the instrument in a certain way, and somebody who approaches it for the first time doesn't have a preconceived, in a way, concept of how the instrument should sound. So
Yes, and also
yeah.
they have an idea of what they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, you have to find a way to do it. Maybe there is one, maybe it's the one you thought, but maybe it's not. So each time you discover a new thing. And that's the thing I did when I arrived in Paris in the conservatory. I have been to every composition classes, and I say, "Hey, I'm playing accordion. It works like that." So I did a presentation to every composer in the conservatory, and it was really worth it because I
Mm-hmm.
worked with them after that, and it was really interesting because at this time they wrote with accordion in every pieces they wrote. Like there were a lot of ensemble pieces, and always they put it accordion on it. So I think it's really worth it to go see the composers, especially because they like that the interprets are involved in the creative process. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they can try everything they wanted to hear with you, and I think we are an instrument that is really open to that, and the
Mm-hmm.
organists are really open to that, and the composers, they are our best friends if we do that.
Absolutely. And I think like the motto of working with a composer, like I believe one should never say it's not possible before actually trying it. So the mindset should be, let's see, I'm gonna try. And so yeah, the motto I think the mindset should actually be, well, let's try it and see what happens. If I try it in like 5 different ways and it's really not possible, then I'm gonna tell you, okay,
Yeah.
that's not doable, but here's an alternative of the nearest result to what you actually want. And here I want to ask you something about something I'm also interested in. Of course, new works, yes, but also transcriptions, because as you know, the accordion and piano duo repertoire is very limited. So, how do you go about transcribing works? Uh, with my pianist, we take many times works for, again, two pianos, some things that are adaptable, or we take works from piano and string trio, because at that point it's kind of already everything written. So right hand violin, cello left hand, piano does what the piano needs to do. So how do you decide and how do you do the work on a transcription? And you say, okay, this transcription is working for our two instruments.
On the beginning, we did a lot of four hands pieces, and then we started the things with new works, so commissioning new works and working on the transcription of orchestral pieces,
Mm,
and especially orchestral pieces that also have a four-hand version. For instance, Ravel Mamerlois, or maybe The Rite of Spring,
hmm
because you have we also did the Moldau. So you have the orchestral score, and you know that you have a lot of possibility for the colors. With the accordion and piano, we have
hmm
a lot, a
Yeah.
big range of possibilities, because we have the strings, we have the wind, we also have the percussion.
hmm
And so we take the orchestral score, we listen to the music, we say we want to hear that, and
Mm,
that will be the accordion, that will be the piano. We use the piano score structure the things just because it's already written. So
Yeah.
we use it and we change. Actually, we write the music
Hmm.
again.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I think it's the best way to find how it sounds the best with the two instruments and not just doing uh, two pianos thing, because sometimes it doesn't work, and especially with the four hands, because you have this register problem, because when you play four
Mm-hmm.
hands music there is the primo, which is left, and the secondo, which is right, and it's the contrary, but but then there is this register problem, so you have to change all the time, and also because the high tone in the accordion are not that percussive than in the
Yeah.
piano and everything, so
Yeah.
we write everything new.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, this takes time and experimentation, and yeah, because piano four hands, we tried this thing, and it seemed too empty in a way, because like the piano could actually like create a more round and bigger sound, but the accordion was still kind of, it couldn't kind of insert itself very nice. Like you would see that it's two different things, you know.
Yes,
Yeah, so it's basically reimagining and recomposing in a way the
yes.
piece. Mm-hmm.
And I really like the transcription of orchestral pieces. It's really long and it's hard because, of course, we are not an orchestra, but it's the way you can listen to what you want to hear, what is the most important. Here is the oboe, I will play the
Mm-hmm.
oboe, and then you will do the clarinet, and maybe we change the next time because the sound is different or something.
Yeah,
And it's also an
yeah.
orchestral work on two instruments.
Mm-hmm. And it's also one of those creative works, if you
Yeah.
want to put it that way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. So let's talk about your other duo, which is also rather unusual,
Unusual.
because yes, it is unusual because I haven't seen that many duos, accordion and recorder. And you also did a lot of Baroque repertoire, especially on the CD that was released recently. So if you'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Yes. Actually, on the CD, we only do Baroque repertoire, but in real life, we also do different things. We also play contemporary music a bit
Hmm.
and some different music. We had a program about um, classical music inspired by folk music last year, but we did
Mm-hmm.
recorded it. And the recorder player Marion, she asked me to do this duo because she heard about the duo with Ivano Battiston. He
Mm-hmm.
had a duo with a recorder.
Mm-hmm.
She liked it, so she thought, oh, maybe we should try. And she asked me, and it's really interesting. So I accepted because I'm in love with Baroque music, and my secret uh, love instrument is the cembalo. So I had the possibility to play cembalo music.
Hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it was great for me. And it's really interesting, the combination also. It's much easier than with piano because we are both wind instruments, and we have this flexibility in the sound, which is really easy to make sound like polyphonic music and counterpoint. In this disc, we play two sonatas from Bach. We play a trio sonata. That
Mm-hmm.
means that usually just one person is playing it, like right, left hand, and with the feet. And the possibility with the accordion and recorder duo is to give more life to these lines because
Mm-hmm.
they are completely independent from
Mm-hmm.
so not my right and left hand, but with the flute. And also we recorded the B minor sonata for flute and cembalo.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the challenge is different because it's cembalo music, but now we can also like really hear the different voices. Also
Mm-hmm.
because accordion is a wind instrument, and that means that we can make it sound more like a consort or different
Mm-hmm.
instrument.
Yep.
So we did that, and also some pieces about theme and variation,
Mm-hmm.
like Mara Mare, Les Folies d'Espagne, and Antonio Soler, the Fandango. Not something more brilliant music. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it sounds the CD sounds really, really great, and this music is. I think you gave it a new life and a new kind of light shining upon this music. With the characteristic sounds of the accordion and the recorder, which is very convincing. Like I remember listening to it. I think it was October or November. I listened to the entire of it. I was like, yeah, this convinces me fully. Like it's
cool.
also, of course, the performers are really great. So it's very easy then to to convince someone. Where can people listen to, and where can people buy, and get to know the music that you perform?
We are tomorrow on the French radio with the duo in Vento. We will play some extract of the CD, and it's also public. But I think maybe
Hmm.
it's on France Musique.
It will be available. I will link the radio program in the program notes of this episode so that people can go and listen to it. And it's also available on Spotify
Yes, it's on
and
Spotify,
everywhere. Yeah. Hmm.
everywhere on the platforms. And if you want to buy a CD, which happens, you can
Hmm.
go on my website. There is the link to the shop.
Hmm. I will also put this in the description of this episode. And listeners, if you really enjoy the CD and you'd like to support the duo Invento, then go ahead and buy the CD and support the duo. Cool. So, yeah, where can people hear you live this year? What are some of the concerts that you are doing in the upcoming months?
At the moment, I'm rehearsing a lot for this project with dance,
Mm-hmm.
which is happening in November. So that's the big project of the year for me because it's our commission for the Avès duo, and it will be created in south of France on the 2nd of November.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if you want to listen to a full accordion concert, there is a concert on the 19th of May with all
Mm-hmm.
the accordion player that had the scholarship from Banque Populaire Foundation. That means
Mm-hmm.
that we will play with Fanny Vicens, Théo Hould, Vincent Lermé, all in the same concert, and other people. I just don't say the all name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We will play. We will play with Fanny Vicens, Vincent Lermé, I, and Theo Hould. We will play Bach for cembalo concert. Donc
Wow.
I think
Okay.
it will be a lot of fun, and it's a full accordion program. It's in Paris, and then I have some upcoming concert with different formation this summer, and you can have a look on my website.
Yeah, I will link also like your website in the description. So make sure to check Ambre's website for the upcoming dates and if she's performing near you. Yeah, tell
Sorry,
me.
I forgot that we are coming to Germany with Elena, with Avès Duo. In October, we will be in Würzburg and Essen, Accordion Herz.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Okay.
to German friends, if you want to come by.
Yeah, great. So yeah, check out Ambre's website, and if she's performing near you, make sure to go and support her and to listen to some great music. So yeah, as a closing to this episode, and what would you like? Is there some change or something you would like to see more of in our, let's say, accordion community or in general in the music world?
Let me think.
Yeah, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot with such a huge question, but
Um,
or if there's something you would like to you know talk about as well.
I would say that I think it's a really good thing that you are doing this podcast because we can learn to know each other. And I like it with our generation. I have the feeling that we have a European network of accordion player. Everyone has his idea of music, of what he wants to play. But we are, I guess, in some kind of solidarity on nice network. So I think it's something I would like to see in the next year, and also meet people from abroad and meet some other colleagues.
Hmm.
And so thank you that you are making us in touch with the podcast.
Well, thank you, every one of you, for accepting and being here. It's always very interesting for me also to get to know the people behind the different websites and the videos that I see and that I'm curious about, and actually speaking to you in person, getting to know you. It's really a great chance, I think. And yeah, the idea of the podcast was that there's so many great musicians, accordionists of our generation, and also those a bit older and also a bit younger that are coming up now, doing a lot of amazing things, but not many times now. It's so much is happening, and it's so easy to get lost in everything that we need to do ourselves, that we actually like cannot really follow everything that's happening around. So it's just amazing to be able to sit down for 1 hour and talk to you, talk to all the other guests on the podcast, and also it's creating a network, and hopefully like some of the listeners will see that you're performing nearby, or they might think, you know what, I'm doing a vacation in south of France, near to where Ambre is going to play this huge project with dance and piano. Why not just go and say hi, or just listen to the project and to the concert? So yeah.
Maybe now that I wondered a bit more, I could say that I think that the accordion it at some point where we have this legitimation with graduation possibilities. We are now a bit more known in the classical world. We have places in the orchestra and things, and since it's still an instrument which with you can have your personal path, and I really hope that it will stay like that, and that we won't become such an academic instrument that we do the classical repertoire. And because
Hmm.
it's so exciting that with accordion you can make your own music, and you can make so many things, so many different things, that I think there is a path for every accordion player. And I hope that every accordionist can continue to find it and
Hmm.
stay creative in this way.
Absolutely, that's very beautiful what you just said. If,
Thank you.
no, no, really, really, because now that you said it, I think that over the years it was a kind of quote unquote battle, a struggle to actually belong as a serious concert instrument. I think now we achieved that. We arrived there thanks to our professors, to our mentors, to our
Yes.
continuous work. Uh, Now it's about finding, exploring the identity and the many sides of identity that we can actually achieve. And the more the better. So yeah.
Yes, right. The diversity of the instrument, of the person that are playing the instrument. That's really
Yes,
rich, and I think we shouldn't lose that.
absolutely. Ambre, on this note, I'd say thanks for being here and for sharing your ideas and your story and all the different projects. To the listeners, go and have a listen, subscribe to Ambre's different YouTube channels, go and listen to her music. And I really hope to meet you at some point in person, maybe in Germany. Why not? Or maybe in France if I'll plan a vacation there somewhere in November. Um, so, yeah, no, thanks again for being here and for having this amazing conversation.
Thank you for the talk, and I hope to meet you as well.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Reach out with comments, suggestions, listen to the other episodes if you haven't done so yet. Feel free to reach out to me on social media, send in an email. You can also send in a voice message if you'd like. The link is in the description of the episode, right at the bottom. If you'd like to support the podcast, if it brings value to you, if you find it helpful and useful and entertaining, or whatever the reason, there's also the option to support the podcast with a small donation, monthly donation, or as a listener did a while back, um, you could also book, for example, a virtual coffee with me and have a chat about whatever it is you are doing. Maybe I am the right person to push you in the right direction. You never know. Thank you again for listening and see you in the next episode.